Hello, and I should say maybe hello again. This is our number 19 in the series that we call Remove Environmental Risks from the Transaction. And because it is number 19, we had 19 before that. And yeah, we did not make any mistake here because we started the series with number 00. So we already had 19 before that. And I would definitely recommend to you to search for, explore the other videos that preceded this one. You may imagine that I am not objective about these videos. I consider them to be superb. I consider them to be wonderful. I consider them to be highly educational, and I highly recommend them to you. They are not long, they are rich with images. And that's one of the principles in those videos, that we put a lot of images to tell the story. Very important. I myself, I went through some engineering education. I studied a lot, and I admit that I fell asleep in quite a few lectures because I had this lecturer or teacher or professor standing there against his blackboard or green board and just talking and talking and talking and writing something with a chalk, and made me fall asleep after 15 minutes. So I learned to put a lot of pictures. I think it's very, very important. Our old Chinese philosopher Confucius says it's a picture is better than 1,000 or 10,000 words, and this is really, really true. So we have a lot of pictures here and or images. And the idea is how to remove environmental risk from the transaction. And when we say transaction, we mean commercial or industrial real estate transaction. So let's get going. And we have over 30 of these presentations. Right now we are to number 19. So we have probably another maybe 12 or more to go. And we have a lot of them behind us. And as I said, I highly recommend them to you. I personally started in the environmental field. I'm kind of an old practitioner in in several ways, and I started in the environmental field in 1988 in the phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment, and my company now is Amir Adini Environmental Services Inc. You are welcome to visit us at www.amiradini.com, and you will find lots of information and tons, I mean, scores of videos, and they are short videos and newsletters, and they are all very, very simple. So please visit us over there. The SBA, the U.S. Small Business Administration, they have their standard operating procedure 5010-6. 6 is the 6th revision, and it is a Bible. It is huge SOP, standard operating procedure, and it has many books in it. And one of the books is Chapter 6, Other Core Requirements. And in Chapter 6, they have subchapter, which is another book, Environmental Policies and Procedures. And in it, they talk, and this is another book by itself, Submission of Environmental Investigation Reports. Now, the SBA, which stands behind a lot, maybe most of the commercial and industrial financing transaction, they demand that environmental reports would be submitted on a lot of these transactions. They have like a checklist that you need to check out whether or not environmental reports are needed on your transaction. And I can assure you that probably better than 90% of the commercial and industrial transaction will require submission of environmental investigation report. And the institutional lenders, the most conventional institutional lenders, they follow suit. They follow in the wake of the SBA requirements, And what SBA says, it's a Bible for them too. So they require those environmental investigation reports. And SBA says that all these reports, which they call transaction screen, phase 1 and phase 2, ESAs, short for environmental site assessments. Again, environmental site assessments. All right. All of these reports must be done, bold letter, must be performed by an environmental professional. Transaction screens, we hardly do them anymore. This is kind of an older practice, hardly done. Most of the reports today are phase 1, and the phase 1 arrives at certain conclusions that indicate some concerns, then we move to a phase 2. And they require that it must be done by an environmental professional. Now, who or what is an environmental professional? Well, SBA then yield or defer to the EPA, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and they define who or what is environmental professional. They have a definition. And if you go online and write search for EPA environmental professional, you will get the entire book, okay, the entire policy, who or what is an environmental professional. And they will tell you who qualifies as environmental professional. They will tell you what kind of certification or license are required for them to do environmental investigations. EPA will tell you what kind of education the environmental professional must have. It will say what kind of experience they need, and not only experience, they will demand that it will be a relevant experience. So if you are a dentist, you are a very good dentist in your own right, you may or may not qualify as an environmental professional. We will have to see if your experience is relevant to the requirements, to the needs that environmental professional has to respond to. For me, I'm proud to say that I do qualify as an environmental professional, if only by reason that I already back in 1964 received my degree in mechanical engineering with additional credits in nuclear and chemical engineering, and then spent the next 20 years, first 8 years in nuclear facilities, operation, maintenance, construction of nuclear facilities. These were quite interesting years. I remember them very fondly, and it was in my homeland in Israel at the time, and then moved to work in industrial facilities and chemical facilities, refineries, chemical plants, chemical processing plants. Migrated to the United States, did quite a few projects, involved in quite a few projects in the design and construction and even operation of chemical manufacturing plants, and eventually graduated to become a general engineering contractor in California in 1989, specializing in not less than hazardous substance removal certification. Received the certification in 1989. This certification only came about around 1989, so I was one of the very first contractors in California, and maybe even in the US, to have received this kind of certification. I've been in it ever since, and also the California at one time recognized me as a registered environmental assessor level 2, and with this recognition, they said that I completed all the requirements for the most stringent, I repeat, most stringent level of environmental registration provided by the state. They said that as an REA2, I was a project manager, that I could conduct all assessments and investigations, plus issue cleanup opinions, evaluate risk from contamination, and manage the cleanup of contaminated site. So that's a lot. And as much as I'm proud of it, I should be modest and honest, tell you that I'm not the only one. There are quite a few good qualified, highly qualified environmental professionals out there. Several of them are good colleagues and good friends, and we interact. And I am very proud to belong to such a nice group of environmental professionals. The recent project that we have done was here in the neighborhood called the Silver Lake in Los Angeles, close to downtown Los Angeles. It's quite a nice neighborhood, a very up and coming, used to be controlled by street gangs. No more. Street gangs are gone. And but I remember the time because I used to live close to this area since 1980. And so I remember those times, but they are gone. And the neighborhood right now is flourishing and prospering, and nice people moved in, younger generations. We see families with children over there. I like this neighborhood a lot. And so, I mean, in its history, there used to be a Terminix facility here. Terminix, they do pesticides, and they used to mix and pesticides and package and distribute them. And in the process, they leaked, they discharged pesticides to the land. And our client purchased the land and wanted to make residence here. This is Silver Lake. They wanted to turn it into a residential property and put a 16-unit apartment building here. And they had to clean it up to the most stringent and strictest standards of the California EPA. And we were retained to do this cleanup under the auspices and the oversight of the California EPA, Department of Toxic Substances Control. And you see here this debris of concrete. They were impregnated with pesticides, and the land had a lot of pesticides in it. And you see here this huge monster, this hundreds horsepower monster with this monster breaker here, hammer, hydraulic hammer, breaking those huge, well, I don't know how to call them, foundations that used to be there, and of concrete. And when you break concrete, you take a hammer, you hit concrete, you will get a puff of dust coming at you. And we were getting some dust coming. As soon as you hit it, you get poof, 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 lots of dust coming. And guess what? This dust is laden with pesticides. And here is our workers, and we need to protect them. We don't want them to inhale carcinogenic pesticides. We don't want them to have these things coming to their mouths or even go into their skin, all right? So they spray water here continuously, but not less important, maybe even more important, we need to protect the neighbors around. We have children, we have adults living here, all surrounding our property, all residences, and we needed to prevent any flying dust from going over there. So we surrounded the site, the entire perimeter of the site. It was surrounded by monitors, you don't see them, that were monitoring the air every minute of the day for dust. And if there was any small speck of dust going out, the monitor will tell us. We checked it every 10 minutes. And if there was, we shut down the operation and let the dust settle until we could start again. It was very strict operation, and eventually we cleaned it up. Right now they have this beautiful apartment building there. They are happy. This whole thing cost them about $500,000 to clean it up, but I know that the project has become very lucrative, and they are happy with it. The anonymous says, I guess an anonymous reference says, running away from a problem only increases the distance from the solution. So I guess those pirates here, which are running away from something, I guess they are just increasing their distance from the solution. Or maybe the solution is chasing them. But I think it's a nice way to say it. Okay, don't run away from a problem, just tackle it. So we are trying to tackle our problems. And today we are going to talk about the problems that we call abandoned drums. Abandoned drums used to be a big deal in our industry. Not anymore as they used to be, but still it is. When when we started in it in the late 1980s, it was big, okay? There was a lot of sites with abandoned, leaking drums because old timers back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even before that, they had the drums, they had chemicals, just throw it out in the field, who cares? And I'm not blaming them, I'm not faulting them. This was the manner of the day. We don't judge the morals of 200 years ago by today's standards, all right? Society is developing and evolving, and we get evolving moral standards, and we don't judge whatever. We don't judge the Crusaders by the standards of today, or even those who fought the Crusaders. There were so anyway. I'm not trying to be a preacher here, but I'm just saying that in the old days there were different standards, and so there were a lot of leaking drums. A lot of drums were being abandoned, and we found them. And here is upper left. You see drums in the field, and they are leaking. Okay, you see here the puddle. Okay, bottom left. See here. You don't see the drums, but you see the result of it. Okay, and this puddle here, and this goes into the land. Upper right. This is recent. I did a phase 1 investigation of a commercial property, and this is a strip plaza. They have several shops there. I go into the electrical room, and I see this drum or bell standing next to the electrical panel, all right, inside the electrical room. And look at here. Here is again this drum and this thing, which is kind of glaring at you, bright, thing shiny. This drum was leaking stuff from the bottom of it. I step into it, I couldn't pull my shoe out. All right, inside an electrical room, a drum is leaking out a substance which is flammable. All right, and it's toxic, and it was a couple of years ago, so it's still happening today. And here is I just pulled it out today. Today is what, when I'm giving you this, when I'm recording, this is March 20th, 2023 that I'm recording it. And this is a story from, well, from 2018. July 2018, newswest9.com. And this is in Ector County, Texas, 2018. So it's not far out. It's about 5 years ago. Look at it. Emergency cleanup. Thousands, oh my God, thousands of abandoned oil drums at Marco Avenue and Market Street are leaking chemicals into the ground, contaminating water wells, and creating significant fire hazards. Environmental Protection Agency officials said. This is 2018. Can't believe it, okay? It's still there. So leaking drums, all right? And so what happens? Here is a conceptual rendition. So here is our site with the leaking drums here. We don't see the drums. And it's contaminating soil, contaminating groundwater. Not only we have soil and groundwater contaminated, we also have vapors. When we have volatiles involved, vapors coming out and entering into residences. So that's a real menace, a real problem, all right, that leaking drums can create. Here is a facility that I did just only maybe a year ago here in Southern California. And I did not do these facilities. I did a facility which is behind the fence of this one. And so I did the neighboring site. And the pictures that I'm taking is I just put my cameras over the fence and I took a picture of the neighboring, of the contiguous property, all right? So this is a contiguous property just next to the property line of my, quote unquote, my property. And look what look what we see here, all these drums. Okay, right away I raise a flag. I don't know, I don't own this place. All what I see is a phase 1 right now. I do a phase 1 and I raise a screaming flag right up the pole and say, oh, I see a concern here, all right? Look on this. We have all these drums here. They are open drums. I don't know what is there. I don't know if they leaked. I'm looking here, a picture of the soil. It is stained. So I do a phase one. I say, I raise an alarm. Here is another picture of this same facility. I'm standing here on the right side. You don't see me, and you don't see my camera, but I'm standing here on the right and taking a picture and see what I see. Okay, that's quite a picture. All right, so it raises concern. Here is another picture from the same stuff. Look here. You see this drum here? Look how the position. This drum may have spilled, like you saw in the diagrams before, in the pictures before, and whatever it spilled, it went to the ground. Now, indeed, it went into the ground, into the neighbor facility, but it could travel into my quote-unquote facility by soil vapor. So when you do phase one, when we do the phase one on the neighbor property, we raise a flag and we say, oh, there is a concern, we need to do a phase two, we need to investigate it, see if it entered into our facility. Here is another historical project that I did. This is the city of Arcadia. Those of you that are familiar with Southern California, city of Arcadia, here is the Foothill Freeway, which we call 210 Freeway. And this is, I believe here, this is Santa Anita Avenue. And this is Embassy Suites Hotel by Hilton at this time. It's been there forever. And this is the Hampton in Los Angeles. And there is a Marriott Suite Hotel here. And there is an extended stay, America, Los Angeles, Arcadia. And there are all these commercial and restaurants and shopping. This is a pretty lucrative, nice area, high-end area. But when I was there, and this is going back to, guess what, late 1988, early 1989, this entire area, which is marked in red by me, was just vacant land. And this triangular area, was a vacant land. And the left side here at the time was contaminated with oil that was spilled all over it. This is about 1 acre side. And at the time, in 1988 money, it was $1.5 million to clean it up. And we cleaned it up. 1988 money, 1990, 89, 88, $1.5 million to clean it up. But now there is this hotel. But what happened here, we did not do this triangle. This was another environmental company at the time that got into it after us. And again, it was dirt, all was dirt here. And they started excavating to develop it. And they found scores of buried drums here. I remember it, lots of drums. I was not involved in it, but I do know. So this was, the whole triangle was filled with buried drums. I don't know how many, dozens of them. And they had to pull them out and do a lot of investigation and sample, etc. So this was, as I said, 1989. The Alexander Graham Bell, I assume you know who he was and what he did. He said, when one door closes, another opens. But we often look so long and so regretfully upon the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us. Wise word, okay? Let us not sink into the closed door. Let us look for the open door. And with that, I end this presentation. Again, call me, text me, 323-899-5001. I'm always available. Send me your reports that you don't understand. I will help you understand them. And tell me whatever concerns you have in environmental. I do not charge for it. I will start charging if it comes to, I don't know, several hours of work, but usually in about 15, 20, 30 minutes, even an hour of my time, I can tell you a lot, okay? Because I see real quick and I can tell you a lot of valuable information, and I will not charge you. So thank you very much for being such a good audience. I'll see you in the next one.